live.
I like how you're just like, here we go.
And now. Welcome to Dark Alignment Podcast.
Woo!
Yay! I'm Brittney.
And I'm Amy. Also Eruca Rose.
And Britt_Oakley on Instagram.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to find out more about us or connect with us, you can find us there. That's really my only social media platform that I participate in. But I actually love interacting with you guys. I've had some really cool fan interactions that it's just neat.
Yeah,
so.
It's really fun talking to people. I'm pretty slow with my messages, but I really enjoy getting messages on my Instagram.
I'm all over it, you guys. Message me and let's get weird. No.
I post a lot of astrology. I post like some dance stuff, and I post like weird stuff. I'm weird.
Pretty photography and
I like I like taking like plant pictures a lot.
Yeah, you've had some good plant
I really like a lot of plant pictures. Anyway, I do that, and I have YouTube at Eruca Rose, and I got Patreon at Eruca Rose. So you can check out those. I do lots of astrology work.
Personal astrology readings. I get a daily one, and I am truly satisfied. I say that like every time, but I get super excited every day, and I'm like waiting for my notes so I know kind of how to guide myself through the day. I love it. So
on my Patreon, if you're interested in getting any kind of daily, reliable astrology readings from me, you'll want to go check that out now, because I have limited the slots on there. There's limited space for personalized readings because my energy has been pretty low lately.
What?
because I'm pregnant.
Woo!
Again, so we're expecting baby number 2 in March. That actually looked like 3.
Pisces!
It might be Pisces, it might be an Aries. We don't know, but we're really excited. So I've just had a hard time keeping up with some of the workload on there. So I limited the space.
Yeah.
So if you really want to know about your daily astrology, you got to check it out before other people get the spot.
You guys, get in there. You won't regret it. It's my favorite thing ever. So,
all right.
That being said, we can move on into kind of recapping. Last time we covered Dirty Diane Downs and her dirty fucking diary.
Oh my God.
And it was pretty good shit. So if you missed that episode, go check it out. Episode 5. Make sure you subscribe so you don't ever miss our videos. So hit that bell.
Hit the bell. Hit the subscribe.
Give us a like.
Tell us what you think in the comments. Tell us your day, your birthday. Tell us your favorite color. Tell us your favorite story that you'd like to know about. Yeah, definitely. You can message us on Instagram for that too.
Yes. With Halloween coming up, we're kind of entering that like fall spooky season.
We have big spooky plans for you guys.
We're going to bring you some fucked up stories because we know how much you love it. And from there, I guess we're ready to get into it.
All right.
Are we ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right, y'all. So this is a pretty fucked up episode, as we promised. It is Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka. They are better known as the Ken and Barbie Killers. Woo! I know you're thinking lots of Malibu pink. You're thinking Barbie convertible. These two literally look like Barbie and Ken. Like,
they're beautiful.
They are beautiful.
How do you look at their pictures before we started?
I needed her to know how hot they are. Like, it's weird.
I get it.
So they were pretty unlikely suspects to be committing the type of crimes that they did, because they were like gorgeous and like this young couple out doing fucked up shit, and that's also what made this story so sensational. Also, you guys, we've gone international because this is our first Canada story. They are Canadian. So
International story.
We're getting out of the U.S.
That's off of another YouTube channel I watch.
Oh,
they sing international.
Oh, do they really? I did not rip that off. I don't know about it.
I did. I ripped it off.
My song was 100% original.
Go ahead.
So, this is actually the most sensationalized crime in Canada's history. So, buckle the fuck up. Major trigger warning. And I wrote on this thing, trigger warning. This story is fucked. And I stand by that statement. Yeah. So,
y'all buckle your seatbelts.
Get ready, because we're going to start off talking about Karla. Karla Leeann Homolka was born May 4th, 1970 at
12:20 a.m. We have birth times today.
Witching hour. Yeah, we do have birth times.
So excited.
Yes. She attracted worldwide media attention when she assisted in the rape and murder of 2 teenage girls, as well as the rape and death of her own sister.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah, enter Paul Bernardo, born August 27th, 1964 at
8:31
p.m. or a.m.?
A.m.
A.m. Okay. So we've got these 2 shitheads. Paul was also known as the Scarborough Rapist. So he had kind of 2 identities.
Cute.
Yeah.
He's got more than one nickname.
He has all the nicknames. He would have been so popular in high school.
Wow.
So we're going to kick off by talking a little bit about his life and what it was like for him growing up. So his mom was apparently verbally abusive.
Okay.
And he found out that his father wasn't really his father. Biologically when he was 16. So that's a hard blow for a teenage boy, I can imagine. And also around this time, he became a fucking peeping Tom with his neighbors. So he's like creeping around the yard, looking in your windows, like trying to see some titties. And he gradually got more aggressive, like as he got older. So that was kind of like the catalyst for him in his life. And then, he went to high school, went to college. His early college years, he had a lot of different girlfriends. Mm-hmm. And many of them now, after the fact, they dumped him and said that he was sexually violent. So,
wow. Not
good. That's an indicator of things to come.
Yeah.
So I called this section Meet Cute or... because... Paul and Karla met in the fall of 1987.
All right.
That's the year I was born, y'all.
Oh, so cute.
87. I was a toddler, or an infant-ish kid, crawling and doing stuff. So they met in Scarborough, and Karla was a high school student. She was 17.
Oh.
And Paul was 23, so...
Can it be different with their ages of consent? Just curious.
I should have looked that up, but I didn't.
Oh, I will look at it.
If you're from Canada, or if you are privy to Canada's laws about what age of consent is...
Canada.
I still think that's a pretty inappropriate... why, if you're 23, why do you want to...
16.
What?
The legal age of consent in Canada is 16 years old. Persons under 16 years old can have consensual sex with someone close in age.
Okay.
I don't know what that means, though.
That needs to be defined because that leaves too much a gray area. Because close in age, 6 years, technically, I guess that's not, definitely not when you get older, that's not a big
Okay, he was
age
how
gap.
old?
He was 23 and she was 17. I don't know. 17 is an iffy age, too, because it's, right on the brim, but...
Yeah, it's hard to tell. So there's a lot of, other questions, can a 16-year-old date this age, in Canada? And it's, I'm not getting a straight answer.
Well, it's kind of similar in the South, though, where it's, one of those things, we are from the South, so we get to say this, where, the age of consent, I think in Texas is also 16.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's, state laws even in the U.S. I might be wrong about that, but...
I wonder if that would change if you went to, a federal, a higher court case.
I think it goes to where it's if the parents are permissive of it or not. I think it really does kind of go that way. But anyway.
Okay, anyway.
So Paul's in college. He's going to school to be an accountant at the time. And Karla was having a snack with a friend at this cute little cafe.
Cute.
And in walks the shit face of her dreams. Paul Bernardo. Gross. So they both said it was love at first sight and that they had this electric attraction, so chemical level attraction, and they were both like, hey, we're hot. Let's go bang in a hotel real quick, which is 100% what happened.
Wow.
Yeah, so they went and hooked up at a hotel.
I really want to know what that conversation was like, for you guys to bump into a random person at a cafe and then end up in a hotel the same day, within hours.
Yeah.
I really want to know what that conversation consisted of.
Sure. I feel like a lot of people kind of live that type of life. And it is what it is. No judgment.
I'm not judging.
It's interesting.
I'm just really curious. How would you I can't fathom that from my personal experience.
Also, a 17-year-old too. Like, this is the thing. It's
True.
not like two adults in an airport bar that kind of like hook up real quick.
Yeah.
This is like a technical minor in the U.S. and Canada's a little different, obviously, but that's interesting to make that type of decision.
I don't know if I could trust someone like that quickly. You know, that's
from what I understand, though,
like I would think I'd be murdered. I'd be
as
my murder alert
that.
would go
you
off.
should think you're gonna get. That's called anxiety working properly.
Ooh, there we
in
go.
my opinion. So it's one of those things where they had this like really intense connection. Karla immediately thought that Paul was the one, and she thought he was a total catch. I mean, he's older boy, he's in school, he's really attractive.
Yeah.
He's like, seems like he's got his shit together. And Paul felt the same way about her. So they really dove in quickly to a committed relationship.
All right.
So now let's talk about the Scarborough Rapist.
Okay.
So serial rapes were happening.
Mr. Man.
What?
Mr. Man.
Mr. Man, man of the hour.
All right.
So the serial rapes started happening in the Toronto area, and Paul was targeting young teenage girls. And then by 1988, so a year after meeting Karla, he was a full-on fucking predator, and he had attacked at least 7 women at this point. So
wow.
His method for obtaining his victims is that he would grab them as they got off the bus, or like he would wait in the park and sexually assault them. So he was waiting to see women alone at night, like getting off the bus by themselves, and it's really fucked up. Like, I hate it so much.
Wow.
So he would attack them from behind, and he would
God.
usually pull them, into a secluded area, or in some cases into a bush. And he started, like, with his first few attacks, he started with just, like, fondling his victims, and it escalated to other sex acts, combined with physical assaults. So he is escalating. Like, you can see it every time he gets a little bit more comfortable with his method. He goes a little further with the violence and the sexual violence.
Yeah.
And the victims reported that he was good looking with light hair. And they said, this is a key factor, this will come in play several times, he forced his victims to call themselves degrading names during the attacks. So he's like psychologically fucking with his victims too, and that became like part of his signature, which tells me he really hated women. Like, I don't know if that stems back to his mother, like not telling him about his father. I don't know. That could come from a lot of places. I'm totally speculating. But it's shocking. And they could feel like the police were getting concerned at this point with the number of attacks. There's 11 attacks, and they can feel it moving into the area of homicide because of the way it's escalating. So there's a lot of sketches, composite sketches coming out from the victims. And even Paul's friends were calling it in, saying it looked like him. So he is all over the police's radar. People are starting to see that.
So he's not really getting this like veil of deception going.
No, he's not even apparently wearing any sort of a disguise. That's the other part of it, is like
he's just going for it.
Also, we talked about this a little bit before we started recording. He doesn't look like the boogeyman. He looks like, I mean, obviously a 17-year-old's just going to go to a hotel and go hook up with him really quick. It's one of those things where he was attractive. He was physically attractive, and that a lot of times women will let their guard down, like people like Ted Bundy. They would say that he was so physically attractive and he was so charismatic, like they never hid their faces. Because and that's also the level of just feeling like they are smarter than everybody else. Like, I don't even have to disguise myself because I'm going to get away with it. Like, that's
it's fine.
I can't stand it. It's just horrible. So once the police kind of get his name, and a lot of people are reporting him, saying like that he looks like the composite, they go get his DNA. So he gives a DNA sample to the police, and they send it off for testing. But of course, this is like fucking 1988, 1989. DNA is brand new. The technology is not very advanced. So like, this shit is really going to take time, to like process that. Amy, you know about lab things. And and any sort of like processing time it is to like look through that stuff.
There's so much I would imagine would go into that.
Yeah, especially with like not very advanced technology.
No.
I'm sure it's very different. I know it's really different now. So what's happening in the meantime? Like once they send that DNA off, Now what? What do you think's happening next? Fucking get ready for some vile shit, because here comes the story with Karla somewhere. We're going to talk about their relationship. So Karla had, as far as we know, had no idea that Paul was committing these crimes at the time. She's dating him. She actually lives 80 miles away, and they're having a long-distance relationship. And also, he's just, like, fawns over her. He's, like, really obsessed with her.
Right.
So she feels very loved, like he's very devoted to her. So she has no reason to suspect that he would be involved in something like this. And also, everyone approved of him as a suitor. So this is one of the things we talked about as far as consent. Her family had no issue with the 6-year age gap. Like, nobody had any concerns about it. But in the spring of 1989, Karla graduates from high school. Yay! Because he was dating a junior. And now she's graduated. And around this time, she starts to kind of open up to her friends that Paul was verbally abusive towards her. But she loved him, and she didn't think much of it, and she kind of wrote it off and, like, minimized it. But then they went on a romantic trip.
Ooh.
To Niagara Falls.
I feel like that wouldn't go well within his chart.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Go ahead.
So they go on a romantic trip to Niagara Falls, and he proposes to
Really?
her.
Okay.
They're happy, but things are far from good.
Okay. All right. I can see.
So, guys, this next section, I'm going to, again, give the trigger warning, because this disclaimer all over the fucking place, because...
Disclaimer everything.
We're going to talk about Tammy. And this is Karla's little sister.
Okay.
So the story is fucked up. It makes me want to cry. Like, I feel like I'm holding back tears, like, thinking about this story. This part of the story is really rough. So get ready. Again, Karla's family loved Paul. Her parents thought he was great, and so did sweet Tammy. Paul, being the piece of human garbage that he is, was upset with Karla because she just couldn't give him the one thing he really wanted. And what is that, you ask? Her fucking virginity. So, what's the logical answer to the problem? I mean, how would you solve that? Well, Paul has a fucking plan. Paul says that he wants to take Tammy's virginity instead and asks her to sacrifice her sister.
Oh my God.
Like a can of yours, I'll just take your sister's, and it's basically the same. And how did Karla react? I mean, well, she desperately wants to please Paul, so she's like, that's a great idea. This could work. So she ends up drugging her little sister, and she lets Paul rape her as a fucking Christmas gift.
What the
on
hell?
December 23rd, 1990. So the night before Christmas Eve.
So she's very, open to suggestion.
Yeah, she is. She doesn't really seem to have much of a mind of her own. Or, I don't know, because let's go a little deeper here. So how do they do this? They're like, oh, hey, Tammy, come drink with us, which... What teenager doesn't want to, like, go hang out with their older sibling and boyfriend and, like, oh,
that's
they're gonna
so cool.
They're gonna let me have alcohol. I'm gonna fucking hang out. I'm so cool. Like, I'm an only child, but I feel like I would be totally down for that.
Yeah.
As, like, a teenage version of myself would be like, yes, I want to hang out. So, poor Tammy had no clue that the drinks were actually laced with sleeping pills. And Karla helped with the whole thing. She didn't just, like, give her the pills and, like, leave. She actually stole chemicals from the vet clinic she worked at. And she held a rag, chloroform style, over her sister's face to keep her sedated while Paul raped her. So she's, like, fully fucking involved, watching it, holding her sister there, involved in it. And... not only did they do this fucked up, inhumane, horrible shit, they videotaped it.
Ugh. I don't know if it's just me, but, like, I don't even want to think about my sibling having any kind of intercourse. Like, much less, help and be there. Like, there's so many levels that just messes with my head.
Well, get ready for more, because that's not the worst part. That's not the worst part. Unfortunately, that's not the worst fucking part. Just when you think it couldn't get any fucking worse, Karla joins in and proceeds to rape her little sister.
Oh my God.
I can't. Oh, God. That's hard.
So gross.
So, soon Tammy starts to vomit, and she actually chokes on her vomit.
Oh
So, at this point, they realize, like, shit has gone really far. They get her dressed really quickly, and they call 911. So, when the paramedics arrive...
They won't figure it out.
Well, and they don't.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Right? They don't figure it out.
They had a drugged woman brought in, and they didn't, like, rape test her? Like,
well, okay, so here we go.
Okay.
Tammy dies. Well, okay.
It's a different time. Maybe.
Yeah. Also, when the paramedics, when they arrive, they get the story that Tammy passed out from drinking and that they were trying to revive her, which is exactly what it looks like. Okay. It's her sister and her sister's boyfriend. They're not thinking, well, she was probably raped. You know what I mean? It's her sister going, we gave her alcohol and she drank too much. It's a plausible story. So they really gave the police a plausible story. But Tammy does die in the early morning hours on Christmas Eve. There is one thing. So doctors see a weird burn mark on her face. Okay. It's from the chemicals. Okay, so she has chemical burns on her face. But they still conclude that she died of natural causes.
Oh, this is so frustrating.
And they explain away that it's carpet burn from when she was in the floor. And everybody's just like, I mean, it's kind of one of those things. Why would you question that story? It's the sibling. Like, there's so much credibility coming from a family member that it's like, you would, the last thing you would expect is everything I just fucking told you. Like, that's not,
it's so irritating.
The human brain, like, prevents us from thinking about that because it's so awful. And everyone thinks it's this tragic accident, and then it's, like, presented as a cautionary tale of the dangers of drinking and drugs. So Karla and Paul proceed to buy a home, and they move on with their lives like nothing fucking happened.
Oh my God.
So they get away with it. So next section. This is also a terrible section. So the story's not going to improve, guys. I'm sorry.
It's getting worse.
That was probably, to me, that was the worst as far as details go, but the other crimes that happen are equally terrible. We just don't have the level of detail on those crimes that I did with Tammy's murder. So the next section, crimes of passion? I don't know. So once they buy their home, Paul starts to take his violence out on Karla. As if we didn't see that coming.
Right.
So he starts to taunt her, and he starts to say that he's the Scarborough Rapist, which she did not know. And she actually doesn't know if she should believe him or not. Like, he keeps saying this kind of shit to her, like, oh yeah, well, I'm a Scarborough Rapist. Like, it's kind of like a fear tactic.
Okay. Like, I don't know what I would think either.
That's a weird joke, Paul.
Yeah.
That's not funny. But Karla's so insecure, she just can't leave him. And also, he's got some major shit on her.
True.
He threatens to tell everyone what she did to her sister, and he's always using that as ammo against her, and he has it on video. So he constantly has this to hold over her. And then, 2 nights before their wedding, Karla is awakened by Paul in the middle of the night, and he brought her a surprise.
So sweet.
Oh my God, what could it be? How about a 14-year-old girl that he kidnapped out of her own backyard?
Oh my.
So he brings over 14-year-old Leslie Mahaffey. And Paul intends to keep her as a sex slave. So they hold her captive, and the couple repeatedly assaults her. Again, on video. That's her favorite. It's so fucked up. And in less than 24 hours, Leslie is killed. She is dismembered. And they disposed of her in the Gibson River. So, more to come about that. But what now? Like, now what? Like, we just did this. Let's get married. Of course. So they get married on June 29th, 1991.
All right.
And later on that day, so reception's dying down. Everybody's just done the electric slide. Your cousin got too fucking drunk and fucked up the speech. I don't know if any of those details are true, but I guarantee they did the electric fucking slide. I mean, how could you not?
In that year, too. Yeah.
I mean, it's 1991. So, in the recreational area by the Gibson River, fishermen find pieces of what appears to be human flesh sticking out of concrete blocks. Can you fucking imagine?
Mm-hmm.
Like cinder blocks with body parts sticking out, basically. And everybody is fucking shook. Like, when this news hits it, people do not know what to do. So police recovered a total of 8 concrete blocks, and they all contain parts of a young female. And unfortunately, it's sweet little Leslie. So she'd been missing for 2 weeks at that point, and police didn't know who would do something so awful because it's so fucked. And meanwhile, Karla, she just has to come to the realization that Paul has this insatiable desire for virgins. He's obsessed with virgins.
You know, you just gotta love them for who they are.
I mean, love... Jesus. I don't even know what to say.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, it's true. No. Horrible. So Karla's, like, coming to this realization, and I guess the logical thing for most people would be like, I've got to get out of this relationship. For Karla, it was, I've got to help him get more virgins. So that's what they do. She finds a way to do this too. She actually has a lot of access to young virgins because she starts luring her dead little sister's former friends to come hang out. What? Yeah. Yeah. As if she hasn't done enough, you know.
Her sister's ghost must be just freaking out beyond the grave, watching her sister, like, drag her friends into...
Also, like, to know... Because she didn't actually, before she died, didn't know her sister was doing this to her. Like, she was unconscious and didn't know that her sister had drugged her. Like, to know that your own sister, the person you fucking trust, your family, did that shit to you is awful. And then she starts doing it to her sister's friends and inviting them to come hang out and doing the same thing where she's drugging them and Paul rapes them. All of these girls do survive, though. That's the big difference here is these girls survive. Well,
that's good, I guess.
But fuck! Oh my God! Like,
yeah,
to survive and not know what the fuck happened,
it's crazy.
It's horrible. So, in April of 1992, Paul and Karla start looking for other victims and another sex slave. They can't, enslave these girls they know. You know what I mean? Like, they've got to get a girl they don't know so that they can keep her. That, they're getting tired of that catch and release shit. We need to keep one, which is so
it's a lot of work finding another girl and another girl. I mean... Yeah.
They just need one they can keep on hand. So, when they start looking, they see sweet little Kristen French, and she's a doll. Both these girls are dolls. Leslie and Kristen, like, seeing their pictures, they look so sweet. They're so cute, so innocent. She's 15 years old, and she is walking. So they decide to pull into a church parking lot within her route because she's coming towards them, and they just wait for her. So there's this attractive couple sitting in a car, literally waiting for this young girl to approach them. Yeah. And what do? The famous, they ask her for directions. Which, okay.
Simple.
So this is something that I have talked to a lot of my friends with, like, older children about. The importance of explaining to your kids that adults never need help from children. Yeah, if an adult is asking a child for help, especially... That should be
a red flag.
2 adults. Yes, red fucking flag. Yeah. You do not ask children to help you. Oh, I dropped this. I need a child to come help me. Or can you come help me do this? No. And that's so important, for young people.
That's a good way to say that, yeah.
That's a red fucking flag. And it's fine to tell them to suck it and keep walking. So, Kristen goes missing. And then 2 weeks later, she is found in a ditch on the side of the road. And it's fucking horrible. So, like, they didn't go the lengths that they went to with Leslie to try to conceal the body. She was literally just tossed into a ditch, which just, like, breaks my heart. Yeah. So, when the police find her, she's been sexually assaulted, beaten, strangled. And they find evidence, like when they, do the autopsy, that she was kept for several days. And she was repeatedly raped and sodomized before she died. Wow. So, like, the horrific
That's just
experience of having that happen to you before you die. That's horrible to think about what that must have been like and the pain that she must have gone through. So at this point, a task force is formed to work on this case because everybody's terrified. Like, their teenage daughters are becoming victims. And soon the police get a hot tip that they were actually looking for 2 people instead of just 1. So this is a huge break in the case. There was a badass eyewitness who came forward saying that they saw Kristen in that church parking lot talking to 2 people. And then they also said that the people were in a beige Camaro, so they have a car.
Okay, good.
So police put out an APB, but Paul drives a fucking Nissan. They got the make of the car wrong, which I don't know shit about cars. I would be so sad if I fucked that up, you know, like, so that's kind of a letdown. Big bummer. But police are still, you know, they have enough evidence and they're smart. They know what they're doing, and they start to figure shit out. So the place where Paul and Karla disposed of Kristen's body was actually really close to the cemetery where Leslie was buried. So that's a connection based on the proximity and the nature of the crime and how brutal they both were. There were just so many similarities. The area, it's the same fucking area.
Right.
And the media coverage of this story was absolutely insane. So now, I mean, it's fucking over. It's all over because by January of 1993... Karla is going to the ER because Paul's beatings are getting so severe. I saw a picture of this, and it is fucked up. He beat her in the face with a flashlight.
Whoa.
He broke her ribs. Really fucked up her face bad. I mean, it was like one huge bruise. It was a really terrifying picture to look at.
Yeah.
And she moves out at this time. Also, remember that DNA that he gave to the fucking police? Well, around this time, they finally link his DNA to the Scarborough Rapist case, and he was fucked. I mean, they have his DNA connected to all of those attacks. And that's when investigators make the big link between the killings of Kristen and Leslie. So, Karla makes a deal, y'all. She was no dummy when it came to, you know, protecting herself and saving her own ass. She breaks down first and confesses everything to her family. And then the police decide to interview her about the assault. And they were not ready for the shit that she had to tell them. She tells them everything in graphic detail and what Paul did. She places 100% blame on him. She says that he forced her to help against her will. And then she says that she will testify against him if they give her immunity.
Oh, wow.
So she tells them about the videos and the assaults of all 3 victims, and they make a deal with her because they realize
they want to get him off. Yeah.
Exactly. So she gets a reduced sentence, and they have to go get Paul. So they search the home. They search the house for 71 days, and they can't find the videos. So that's a key factor. Now we're going to court, you guys. We're going to Canada court.
Canada court.
I don't know what they call it. They might have a different name for it there. I need to educate myself on Canada's values.
We can't learn everything, guys.
Guys, I'm not a historian. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But on June 28th, 1993, Karla goes to court to face her charges. And in court, they portray her as this abused wife, and she gets convicted of manslaughter. Right?
Okay.
She gets 2 12-year sentences to be served concurrently, and that means she's serving them at the same time. So that's like 12 years versus 24 years. She only gets 12 years because she's serving them concurrently versus consecutively. So, and that can be really confusing. Court jargon, legal jargon. I did some homework, y'all. So she files for divorce from Paul while she's in prison, and all the facts of her case are kept a secret because they've got to ensure a fair trial for shitface. But people are like really pissed about it. They know that they feel like there was some sort of deal made, and that's the speculation. So on May 18th, 1995, Paul's trial finally begins, and he pleads not guilty. What an asshole. The audacity. He pleads not guilty to kidnapping, aggravated assault, murder, and 6 other charges. So Karla sees him for the first time when she testifies against him. But guess what? The police found the fucking videos. So, they now know that she fully participated in the crime and that she's not a victim. The video of Tammy was fucking beyond, and she tried to claim battered spouse syndrome for her involvement, and they were like, no, bitch, no, stop it. So, everyone is upset that she got this plea deal, so... Paul's the one they have to focus on at this point, though. Like, she's made her deal. There's no going back. They can't undo it. And his trial lasts for 4 months. The jury is allowed to watch the videotapes. Ooh. Can you imagine? Also, no fucking way he's getting away with this, but can you imagine watching that shit? I would...
I've been a juror before.
Have you really?
Yeah.
What?
It was
I don't
a
know
horrible.
more about this.
It was a horrible experience for me personally.
Crime?
I'll have to tell you. I'll do a video about it later.
I gotta know more about this. I'm so obsessed right now.
I could talk about it too long, but that would be insane. Like having to sit there, like you're cut out from your day-to-day normal life, and then all of a sudden, like you're there watching.
You're making what, like $30 a day, or like whatever they give you. Like
it's just like. It just covers like nothing. It's just like a little like, here you go. Like,
here's 12% of your salary.
It's like your parents like see you every now and then. They're like, here's $50, like that kind of feeling. Oh, okay. It's like that. It feels like. I
mean, I don't know what that's like, but yeah, totally.
Some parents do that, I guess.
The cool parents.
The cool.
If your parents give you $50, please thank them because that's awesome.
Yeah,
Good
it's
for
really
you.
nice. It's really nice. Okay, go ahead.
So they're allowed to watch the video, and then they all wanted to die. But after only 8 hours of deliberation, the jury finds that's like enough time to fill out paperwork, you guys. They find him guilty as fuck of all 9 charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder. So, the parents of the girls, so Leslie and Kristen's families are pleased with that verdict, but they're just fucking heartbroken. That doesn't bring back their children. That doesn't undo the horrible deaths that their daughters had to endure. So now jail things. Here we go.
Thanks.
So Paul gets life in prison with possibility of parole in 25 years.
Okay.
I mean, he's going to be rehabilitated. We want him back on the streets, you guys. No! Oh. What the shit?
Okay.
Okay, he's declared a dangerous offender, and they are not letting his ass out. He was denied parole, so fucking thank you, Canada. Don't let this shit face out. Mm-hmm. Today, he is 55 years old and in prison. He actually claims that he committed his crimes because he had low self-esteem. Oh. How many people out there have low self-esteem and are not serial killers and rapists? Cool. Fuck you. That's bullshit. So Karla, she only served 12 years, so she is out of prison now, and people are pissed. This was the thing. I teased about this. I wanted to tell you something about her getting out of prison.
Okay.
Guess when she got out?
When?
July 4th,
Oh.
2005. So that probably didn't mean anything in Canada, but in America, that's our Independence Day.
Fireworks.
Ties to something else we've done.
Okay, what else?
You remember Eileen Wuornos?
Oh, yeah.
And she was put to death on Independence Day.
Whoa, that's weird.
Dun, 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 dun!
That's weird.
Well, that's significance.
Okay.
So I really was excited about that because I'm a nerd.
I don't blame you.
Okay, and we also know that it doesn't really mean anything from Eileen's story, but I love it. So, what's she been up to, Karla? She's doing stuff and things. You better believe it. She says she does feel a lot of remorse and still has nightmares about what happened to the girls and her sister. I mean, I hope she has nightmares forever because fuck you, Karla. And then in 2007, she had a child.
With who?
I don't know, but she had a son, so that's terrifying. Yeah. So she's raising children now. Cool, like,
she just
awesome.
Seems like she's got a level head on her shoulders.
And wait till you hear this. She has also done volunteer work at a Montreal elementary school, which is like, what?
Why does she run kids?
Exactly. This is called nobody did a background check. I don't know what's going on in Canada, but please do background checks on fucking crazy.
If I was a parent and I found that out about I would be so furious.
That PTA meeting, people were outraged.
I'd be so furious.
And you guys, that's the Ken and Barbie killers. That's 2 pieces of human garbage.
That's huge. Like,
so sit with that.
It's not like a pedophile report where you like peed in a park. You know, it's just...
No, you've assisted in the murder of 3 people. The rape and murder of 3 people on camera with your boyfriend.
I'm just...
husband.
Okay.
Gross. Yeah, so... That's that. Are we going to chart it up now?
Yeah, I think it's chart time.
Double chart reading.
All right. It's time for charts.
Let's chart it up.
All right. First, we're going to look at Mr. Paul Ken from Ken and Barbie, and what's the other nickname he has?
The Scarborough Rapist.
Scarborough.
Paul Bernardo. Ken of the Ken and Barbie killers, and those are his many identities. And let's go.
Okay. All right. So basics for him. His ascendant is Virgo. Like you.
Oh no!
And
why?
He also has a stellium in Virgo. His sun is in Virgo. His sun is in his 12th house, which I'll talk about more later. And then his moon is in one of the most common places for the moon to be for people with murderous issues. He's an Aries.
I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. That was like common.
It's one of the more common ones for serial killers. For you to have any kind of Aries lunar placement, but especially if you have your moon in the first, 10 degrees of Aries, that's the nakshatra, that's the absolute most common, which is more of like Vedic astrology, but that's the actual most common. And then I think the next one is the degree that they have their moons in, which is the last decan of Aries, or nakshatra. I'm probably saying that wrong.
I don't know to correct anything, so I think it sounds perfect.
It's like when you're using the like traditional language for like yoga poses and stuff.
Ooh,
like
Sanskrit.
I'm
a Sanskrit.
That's right.
Like, I'm obsessed with Sanskrit. I won't go to yoga if they don't use Sanskrit. If I hear downward facing dog, I'm gonna lose my mind. I don't want to be there. I want to leave immediately.
That's fantastic. You're kind of like uppity about your yoga.
I'm a bitch. No, I want it to be weird, and I don't want it to be the uppity, like hot yoga. And here's our vinyasa, and we're gonna burn a lot of calories.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
It feels too vanilla. I need it to be Sanskrit. I need it to be more healing. I need it to.
Same,
I don't do it for a workout. I do a lot of other things for working out, but yoga is my like centered in myself.
Yeah, like if I also like personally, I don't like being pushed to work out.
No,
it makes me like I think it's supposed to make you angry and like, oh, like I'm gonna do it, like prove you wrong and whatever. It doesn't do that to me. It makes me like very anxious and sad, and so then I don't want to work out at all.
Right.
So I like having like a really healthy environment when I am gonna be physical, and if I'm gonna push myself, I gotta do it on my own.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just think Sanskrit's very healing, and that's why I need it. I need it in my heart and in my life.
All right, we've gotten way
Anyway,
off topic.
We talked about yoga.
I'm sorry. We both like yoga, all right? Sue us. All right, so we got...
pick up on that.
Okay, so we have Paul with his sun in Virgo, ascendant in Virgo, and moon in Aries. Okay. Now, one of the first things that I thought was really interesting about his chart here was he has Venus conjunct Mars, which... Karla does too. So this is one of the many things they have in common in their charts. It's like really crazy. They weren't even born close together, really.
There's that 6-year age gap, you guys.
Yeah, so they just happened to be born at the right time for all this to happen. And this can create like, it's like your heart and that fire, drive, passion part of you are just like the same. Wow. So there's a lot of like benefit to this and negativity to this, because when Venus is being, Venus can be a bitch. Okay, so Venus, you don't let me fuck you. Like Mars, when Mars is not being at its best, it's very aggressive and scary. It's that warrior sense in there. So having those together is very intense. And so that's the first thing. But it's in Cancer for him, which really gives it this weird, like, nurturing, caring
that's what I was gonna
feel
say.
to
Is
it.
that Cancer like motherly?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of weird. Like, I could see how he could really, when he's being sweet, like, you really feel cared for.
Like, he's
like,
so
you
devoted
feel
to
like
me.
he is just so, like, sweet and nurturing, and just, that would be, and then he could turn, you know?
So when he's good, he's good, and when he's bad, he's a complete fucking dick.
It's intense, man.
Wow, that's interesting.
Now, as far as his looks go, this is like a whole thing where they both looked very attractive, and it was kind of deceiving, you know? They both, well, he has his Neptune in Scorpio. Also, Virgo ascendants can come off very, like, attractive. I think there's, like...
Are you saying I'm attractive? No.
There's, like, certain signs in the zodiac where you just come off, like, I don't know, like, there's a lot of, like, Virgo is one of them, Libra is one of them, Scorpio is one of them.
I think of, like, magnetism. Like, you have that personal magnetism where you draw people in.
Yeah, like, it's kind of just, like, you might not be, like, conventionally attractive, but, like, you're still seen as attractive.
Okay, there's
like,
other
does that make
attractive
sense?
qualities.
Yeah, there's something about the way you come off to people that's attractive, and that's one of the things you get with a Virgo
ascendant. It's very charming.
Mm-hmm. And then with Scorpio, I mean, there's a lot of, like, when you have a lot of Scorpio placements, it kind of makes it where, again, you might not be conventionally attractive, but for some reason, people are still just, like, drawn to you magnetically. Especially with a Neptune placement, Neptune there can definitely do that. He has that stellium in Virgo that I mentioned, and that's in his 12th house, and this is kind of fun for me since we get to see his life and that he did actually end up in a prison. So the 12th house can show isolation, the prison effect. It could just be that you're withdrawn from society in some way, but I mean, having your sun there is like your vitality is there. It can also mean that you kind of reject a part of yourself. It can kind of really show like issues with your ego, having your sun in the 12th house. And he's got a lot of planets in the 12th house in Virgo, so it's kind of probably some perfectionism issues, probably some like, probably a lot of issues there. It's also opposite his Chiron, which show your traumas. He's definitely got some issues. But also with that 12th house stellium. Oh, wait, that's my next note. Hey, I got a lot of notes.
She has color-coded notes. I would like to say that I am so fucking impressed about. Anyway.
Also with that placement mentioning his Chiron, it's in retrograde and it's conjunct his vertex, which is where life throws you. So he is not able to like focus on another area of his life really. Because he's constantly, I mean, all of us have to revisit our traumas and like process and kind of this like pattern of life, but he is really like just being like constantly thrown back into his emotional traumas. And there's a trine there to the Venus and Mars conjunction, which is kind of how he copes with that, you know, and his Neptune. There's a grand trine there. And he copes with that through that like magnetic type of deception, like kind of pulling people in. There's a thing with Scorpio, if you're into mythology.
Oh yeah.
It's about who is that? Hades, like dragging Persephone down.
I don't remember details.
To be well, the basic story is like Hades drug Persephone down, and she became like, I don't know, like the Princess of Death or something like that. But it was kind of like this story of like almost Stockholm syndrome kind of thing, where he lured her down there, and
they're
then
sharing a delusion.
Became that's kind of
one
of the traits that Scorpio gets. One of the traits that Scorpio gets is that you can kind of just like pull people in, you know. It's one of the scary parts of Scorpio, I guess.
Interesting.
So he kind of has that quality, especially with Neptune in there doing that. And being able to trick people with his nurturing, caring side, and then
Ugh.
you know, oh, this is my life. It's so hard with my Chiron, and this is where I'm at,
no.
and it's all supporting each other on his chart, which is really interesting. So his North and South node, I always like to talk about those. His North node is in Gemini, cusping Cancer, and his South node is in Sagittarius, cusping Capricorn.
The Gemini cusping Cancer is fascinating. Like
it's like a Gemini. You know how kind of I don't want to say crazy. That's not the word I'm looking for.
I'm married to a Gemini, so I
there's like you gotta be careful then.
Well, no, it's one of those that there are two very different sides of their personality.
Oh yeah, they can have multiple sides of the personality.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things that they're always thinking about. It's kind of chaotic. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay.
Not crazy. I knew it was like a k sound.
Yeah.
You know, pregnancy brain is really treating me well this time. But it's like a more emotional version of that chaotic energy. You know, it's very, you know, smart and practical and everything like Gemini can be, but also like everything is more emotional. And that's kind of where he's striving to go in his life. Gemini can also become easily manipulative just because they are so in control of social interactions. Does that make sense? Like they can really lead a conversation with ease, with grace. There's a lot of ways where
smooth talking.
It depends on your whole chart. It really does. But with this kind of North node, like you're looking at someone who can kind of keep in touch with the emotional aspect of the conversation, but still guide it in where he could want to take it.
Wow.
And this is kind of also shown with his South Node conjunction. There's Lilith and Ceres there. And these are square his ascendant, which is one of the things I was looking at for, you said his mother was not nice to him.
She was verbally abusive and lied to him about who his dad was for the first 16 years of his life.
This is a disempowering mother. That Ceres really shows that kind of mothering energy. Again, it's like that basis for love, like how you learn on that like fundamental level what love is for you. And that really shows in Ceres, and he has a very poor Ceres placement regarding that. Being conjunct Lilith, it would be, you know, if you didn't look at the aspects, you would think, wow, this is like he can really like feels empowered by this nurturing energy, but no, he doesn't, because there's a square to his ascendant, and it's on his South node, which is part of you that you tend to reject. Is your past. So it's really...
He definitely is not an individual who's at peace with fucking anything to do what he went on to do. It's like, and also the thing that I keep going back to in my mind when I talk about Paul Bernardo or think about him is that he loved for his victims to degrade themselves. So he hated women, which I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think ties back to his mother.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely goes back to his mother.
Like I wonder if that's
especially with that lunar placement as well. Like there's definitely like, when you were saying that, I was thinking like, he's wanting to feel powerful, where he couldn't before. Like,
that's taking your power back, but in the wrong fucking way.
Yeah, like, that's not how you should go about it, guys.
But that's how it can manifest in people.
Exactly. Man, and he's really like, okay, let me see if there's anything else I took notes on him, because I have a lot to talk about still.
Yeah. Technically doing 3 readings, so like Paul by himself, Karla, and then the 2 of them merged in their overlap.
So I'm going to quickly discuss Karla's chart now.
What does hers look like? I just love seeing what they look like. You know? Like I don't really know what it means necessarily. It's just one of those things of like,
it's like
very symmetrical. Of like it's a zigzag pattern. You know when you do those?
So yeah.
So when you do those finger things as a kid with like the string, and so he puts their hand in and you like trap it.
Yeah, she's got a lot of back and forth. What is that? There's like a
Jacob's
game,
Ladder.
like a backgammon game or something, or Jacob.
I don't know.
It's always on the back of those checkerboards, and I'm like, what is this?
Oh yeah, that I don't know how to play that.
Anyway,
I barely know how to play checkers.
Okay. mean, I was checkers queen, and Chinese checkers,
Are you
absolute
kidding
king.
me?
Oh, I was so good.
What?
Well,
Were you on a chess team?
at least in my small community, I was the best.
Did you do like...
I was the only one that beat my grandma at Chinese checkers. Okay.
Bragging rights.
Bragging.
AF. That's hilarious. I love you.
All right. Okay. Karla Barbie. She has her sun in Taurus.
Oh, I love Taurus. Like,
I know you might have liked her. Like,
no, bitch, I'm not your friend.
Okay, so sun in Taurus, moon in Aries, the same spot as Paul's. Same. Like, I think there might be on the same degree. Let me double check here.
Shit.
I mean, they were like conjunct. Okay, they're 3 degrees away from each other. That's super close. And then her ascendant is Capricorn, kind of cusping Sagittarius.
Okay.
So, one of the first things you notice, or at least I noticed, on Karla's chart is that her sun is conjunct Saturn. And this is a very strong issue on a chart. This is a lot of, like, Saturn is very structured. It's limitation. It's doing things by the book.
It sounds like no fucking fun.
It's not fun.
Sorry, Saturn.
All Saturn wants to do for you is create structure for you in your life and really make you work for your rewards in life. So, like, for example, so if you had like a transit going on in your chart and you were hoping to manifest something, you're hoping to bring something into your life somehow, I don't know. If you got a strong, like, Jupiter aspect going on, like, it might just be gifted to you. Like, it might just happen, luck of the draw kind of thing.
Jupiter, Saturn, you're fantastic.
A Saturn aspect, though, you gotta work. Like, you gotta work, bitch. You gotta, like, do all the things. I know.
Sorry, I get really excited anytime Britney Spears is even remotely mentioned.
We're gonna do Britney Spears' chart at some point, guys. Just so you know.
On her birthday. Be here.
Be there or be
coming December 2019.
Okay, so with this is on top of her vitality, her personality, who she is as a person, her consciousness, her, like, her being, okay? Like, her physical self, like, actually, I think this is also, oh, no, it's in her 4th house. Anyway, so she's got a lot of stress on her being her. I
can relate
feels,
to that.
You know, I have Saturn conjunct my moon, and so it's like an emotional stress, but it's like her just existing is, like, very stressful and limiting and restricting. There's a lot of belittlement. I gotta look at your chart again.
I really relate to that, like, hard. I always feel like everybody wants me to be less of myself, and that it's not safe to be me.
Yeah, and Saturn can really, like hit you hard. Like, especially when you go through your Saturn return when you're about 28 years old. Oh man, I don't know how old she was when all this happened, but whenever she was 28, this would have been hell time for her.
I'm pretty sure she was in prison.
Okay, well, maybe she had a really bad time in prison then, but...
Good, because she didn't spend enough time there. Anyway. Because we probably would have been besties if she hadn't have gone through all this, considering, like, the chart stuff is so crazy.
Yeah, you guys might have gotten along.
I hate it. I don't want to be friends with you.
You might not have. I don't know. Her North Node is Pisces, though, so...
God, no, stop
She
it.
would have liked you, at least. Okay, so she's got a lot of stress on her person, all right? This is also square her Vesta and Lilith, so this is, like, it's really challenging. There's a lot of challenges for her in her life in being able to empower herself in any way. So she probably really goes for this weak, meek thing. That's
what it sounds like. When you talk
it really does. And then
her story.
Oh yeah, and her Vesta being there too. It's like the same idea with what she's really devoted to. Like, she just can't. There's like a really challenging part of her life related to empowering herself to do what she really cares about. Yeah. And that would translate as someone who's very anxious and susceptible to being manipulated. Not to say she's, not at fault.
No, but
there's a lot of other interesting things in her chart, but
I don't think she would have committed any sort of crime ever in her life had she not met Paul Bernardo. I do not think
she
that
needed to be pushed over the
danger
edge
to society.
Right.
Like, I don't think her being on the street that she's going to go abduct children.
Same.
I just don't.
I still wouldn't want her on my kid.
No, I still don't want her fucking volunteering at a school, but
yeah.
But that already happened, so
already happened.
We have to. And she didn't take any of those children hostage, to my knowledge.
Mm-hmm. All right,
what the fuck.
All right, next on her chart, also in Aries, she has a conjunction with Chiron and Ceres and Juno. And I've seen a lot of Chiron in Aries where it was someone who was abused in a relationship or abused in even a physical way, especially, but some kind of aggression.
Okay.
They have trauma due to aggression, typically. There's a lot of other things that this can indicate, but that's what we're looking at for her, for sure. And this is really related to how she feels loved. Her Ceres is there. That is her foundation for love. So if someone triggers her, it makes her feel if someone comes along and makes her feel like she has what she needs to feel loved, her trauma is in the same place in her life. So they're connected in her mind.
A lot of people who've experienced abuse are gravitated to more abuse and more trauma because that is a place of oddly comfort and familiarity.
Yes. And I was writing about that last night.
Oh, really?
I was. And then also Juno there, that's her sense of commitment, marriage.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's going to be a lifelong issue for her, for sure.
That's a very tragic placement.
Yeah.
In her case, very tragic.
And it's square her ascendant, so it's really impacting her identity and how she comes off to people. And oh my gosh, it's stress central here. And then the last thing, I already talked about that, so we are good on her chart for now.
All right, and let's double it up.
Now we're going to be doing a Synastry reading. Do you know what a Synastry reading means?
Okay, so I know we did this last time, and I was like, it sounds dirty, and it still sounds really dirty to me, and I don't know the answer.
Okay, Synastry reading is when you take two people's charts, their natal charts, and put them together.
Like dirty sinners.
Oh my God.
That's how I'm going to remember it. I have to have context clues and stupid jingles to make things make sense to me.
All right, so basically this triples the aspects because you got the aspects from both natal charts and then the aspects of how they interact.
It looks to really overlap pretty severely.
Oh, if I turned all the aspects on, it'd be worse looking than this. But I only need the ones that I left on here.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It's very chaotic type of reading. So, all right, here we go. They have a ton in common.
Oh my goodness.
This is the only thing I'm seeing, generally speaking, the general things that are different between them is where they, ultimately want to go in their life is a little different. And then, how they deal with their issues is different. So, she's naturally going to be more meek. He's naturally going to be more aggressive with his, with his problems.
It seems like they kind of both embody this, macho masculinity and this hyper femininity. They kind of have
that
these
conjunction with
extremes of this
Mars
chart where it's those gender stereotypical gender roles. They each embody this hyper version of it, which is really unusual. I didn't think about that till you just said the meek and aggression.
So
crazy.
It's just, they can. I think they really connected on each other's dark sides. I think that was really comforting to them, and I get that. You find somebody who has the same hurt as you, and you're oh, this is
bonding,
right?
Experience.
It's very bonding. You feel very close to them. Their moons are in the same place.
Really?
Yeah, they're 3 degrees apart.
You said that.
Yeah, they are in the same place, which is pretty rare to find a partner with the exact same lunar placement as you. So their hearts are the same. They feel things the same way. So
That's
they
scary.
get each other. They get each other, They could have been really working on some telepathy,
really
emotionally understood each other really well.
And they may have had that. We don't know.
Yeah,
what their relationship was really like.
Man, I don't know if Aries moons are really thinking about telepathy, but anyway. All right, so then they have this Sun trine Sun going on. So this is they bring out each other's personalities and make each other feel good about being themselves.
Okay, and it sounds like neither of them really felt very good about themselves.
Exactly.
Before,
so they made each other feel good about who they were.
This could have been a great relationship based on these things, and like, shit, what happened? So where does it all go wrong?
This is what's so interesting about their charts. I'm like, oh my god. And then next, let's see, they both have Neptune in Scorpio, which is where we're, talking about all of this sexual kind of like dreamland kind of issues. Yeah. Like this can be a positive placement, but it's not necessarily.
You could have some really hot fantasies, or you could be monsters like these two. So
it's kind of just like there's this like really spiritual dark intensity to their sexual sides, which is I made a note on that too. They also have each other's, it's not on their own charts, they don't have sun in the 8th house, but each other's suns are in each other's 8th houses, if that makes sense. This is going to be complicated to explain.
My face hurts.
So his sun sign, when you overlap their charts, is in her 8th house, and vice versa.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
And that's also where there's stellium. They both have stelliums in those places. So they have stelliums in each other's 8th houses. And if there's anything about 8th houses that I have come to understand, is that, like, you have this intense, like, it's like that dark familiarity. Like I was saying, they have the same hurt. Like, they feel like that, like, it's the house of Scorpio. It's, like, this, like dark, intense kind of, like, I don't know, esoteric feeling connection. Okay. It can be very spiritual. If you have like 8th house connection with someone, like you're gonna know it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like, it's very weird. But it really makes like this dark sexual side of a relationship. But the thing is, it can be 8th house aspects can be either very transformational, so you can undergo these like spiritual transformations and really grow as a person through this. Or it can become like a very dark, like tragic kind of thing, if that makes sense. Like the Hades the Persephone story.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You share a delusion with somebody.
Yeah, there's definitely delusion aspect. Yeah, it's just a little fun stuff with them.
Interesting.
All right, and then that ties into their Scorpio thing, and then all right. So then I also was mentioning that they both have Venus conjunct Mars.
Okay.
Hers is in Gemini. That is a super crazy aspect to have in both charts. Like I'm saying, I've said this about like enough things on their chart already that they have these like weird, like really similar aspects to their personalities.
Because they just seem so different, like surface level. That's
and hers is in Gemini, which is where his North Node is. Like he really appreciates that in her because he sees it in himself, and that's where he wants to be in life. He wants to be a little bit more in that like Gemini space, and like having, how I was saying. With that conjunction, it gives him like this really ultimately caring side. Like with her, it would give her this more like, kind of like social, practical aspect to it. Like, fun-loving, quick-paced kind of feeling with love, and passion. It's kind of hard to explain, but like those two together and having his North Node there really fits for him. He's really into that.
He's so into her. She goes along with his
It's really
shit.
easy for him to like her and vice versa. So.
Wow. These two. Seriously.
Let's see. And then again with the North Node, South Node things. Her North Node is conjunct his Vesta. So this is where she's headed in life, and he is all about it. He is devoted to her, how she wants to be more like as she gets older. I don't know if I said that right. Your North Node is kind of how you want to grow as a person. Like you're always kind of moving towards your North Node in your life. So she wanted to be more like a Pisces. And he was devoted to Pisces energy.
Oh, no.
So that's like,
I don't know.
he was just so devoted to her in a way.
It's so interesting because he was also so abusive to her.
Well, his Chiron's also there, and his Saturn's also there, so that there you go.
Wow. Okay.
And okay. Next one, her South Node is conjunct his Sun sign. So this is another similar thing where they're going to feel very comfortable around each other. Your South Node is like your past. It's your comfort zone. It's what you already know. It's how you already know how to exist as a person. It's just not going to serve you in this life.
Okay.
So hers being in Virgo and all his stuff in Virgo, like, this is going to cause problems for her in her life, being around him. But it's also going to make her feel so comfortable around him because it's her comfort zone. And he's going to pick up on that and feel similarly.
That's a double-edged sword.
And, it's like she can kind of... There's a side of her that is so much like his personality. And that also, they're complementing each other's personality, making each other feel good about each other. And this is just a weird cycle going on.
It is very weird.
I think there's one other thing with their life paths. Yeah, so Karla's ascendant is also conjunct Paul's South Node. So
wow,
this is how she comes off. So it kind of makes a little more sense to me now that like they saw each other, and he was like, "Wow, I'm comfortable with her," and like. She would have been able to feel comfortable with him as well. It's just a lot of that same thing where they're just comfortable with each other. They understand each other's dark sides and their emotions. And they both kind of have this like aggressive like interpretation of emotion. It's really just a great combo.
A winning combination. Clearly it worked out. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, you guys... That's the Ken and Barbie killers. I know that it was kind of a bummer as far as the story. It was really intense, but we're going to have more good shit for you guys coming up. I hope you liked that story, and if you did, you know what you can do? You can tell us about it.
There's so much you could do.
There's so many things you can do. You can like this episode. You can leave us a comment. You can subscribe. You can... Tell us on social media. We're at Dark Alignment. We also have our individual pages that we talked about earlier.
We got a Patreon.
Yes, we do have a Patreon.
You can support us on Patreon. We would love that.
Thank you to our already supporters. We do have a few supporters, and it's super exciting. We love you guys. We can't tell you how much we appreciate you.
Yeah.
And how cool it is that people are, like, into what we're doing. And
it's really exciting to see our brain baby grow.
Our brain baby with Amy's real baby.
Yeah.
Growing at the same time, which I've been calling the baby.
This one's a lot less physically painful. It's fine.
Good.
This is great.
After the last episode, I've been referring to the baby because the gender is unknown as Natal. It was a joke. If you saw the last episode, you will get it. That's been my very fun name that's been entertaining me for weeks. But yeah, you guys, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Stay awesome and love yourselves. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.